So friends, now time to start the lecture today. And the topic which I'm starting, this is foreign trade policy. So those who are attending lecture for the first time today, please keep your pen and notebook ready and keep on noting everything being written on the board. This is required for further revision. And if you miss this, it is gone forever. Please do not miss. Keep on taking notes for everything that is being done here in the classroom. Okay. Now the concept is what is called a foreign trade. Foreign trade. This word is simply related to import and export. The word foreign trade implies import and export. Now, import and export of what? This may be of goods. This may be of services. And services includes technology also. So foreign trade means import, export of goods, services, as well as technology. Now, import, export is governed by multiple laws which are governing the foreign trade. Which are those? First law that governs foreign trade, that is called Foreign Trade Development Regulation Act 1992. Foreign Trade Development Regulation Act 1992. Year is very important. This itself can be a reason for framing one MCQ. So this is Foreign Trade Development Regulation Act. And under this act, two sections are really very important, or rather three sections are very important for you. One is section 5. Section 5 of this act authorizes the central government to make the foreign trade policy. Section 7 provides for, rather 7 and 8, this provides for importer-exporter code number. Section 11 provides for penalties. Section 15 provides for appeal. And section 16 provides for review and revision. So the foreign trade policy has been framed by the central government. Yogesh ji, what you said is absolutely correct. Services always include technology, but technology is not something on paper, right? But intentionally that is kept separately because in the Foreign Trade Development Regulation Act, a specific reference of technology has been given. Otherwise, certainly that is covered in services. Okay. So, Section 5 authorizing the government to make the foreign trade policy. Now, which government is making the foreign trade policy? It is obviously the central government. What is applicable throughout the country, that is to be made by the Central government, that is obvious. Okay. Every person who's willing to import export the goods commercially, he is required to have the importer exporter code number as per section 7 and 8. Commercial import and export. And under section 8, due to violation of the provisions of the FTDRA or the terms and conditions of the authorization given, the importer exporter code number can be suspended or can be cancelled. Penalties can be imposed under section 11. What is the maximum penalty that can be imposed? That is up to 10,000 rupee or 5 times of the value of the goods in relation to which offence has been committed, whichever is more. And where the appeal can be filed, that depends upon who has passed the order of penalty. So the order of penalty has been passed by DGFT, then appeal is required to be filed before the central government. And if the order is passed by an officer below the rank of DGFT, then appeal is to be filed with the DGFT. So this is the revision for you. We have already done these provisions in detail. Right. So this is Foreign Trade Development Regulation Act. And which is the highest authority under FTDRA? Which is the highest authority under FTDRA? Highest authority under FTDRA is Director General of Foreign Trade, DGFT. Right. What is the role of DGFT there? Role of DGFT I'm writing here. Number 1, advising the central government on foreign trade policy. His role is purely advisory. When it comes to making of the policy, who's making the policy? Policy is being made by central government. What is the role of DGFT in that? The role of the DGFT is purely advisory. So DGFT is advising the central government what should be there in the policy, what should not be there. Number 2, this is implementation of foreign trade policy. Main role of the DGFT. Number 1, advising the central government on framing or making of the foreign trade policy. And number 2, implementation of the foreign trade policy. That is the role of DGFT. Okay. Then second law, which is relevant for the foreign trade, that is customs. In customs, again, 2 authorities, or rather 2 acts. One is Customs Act 1962, another is Customs Tariff Act 1975. Under customs, we have 2 acts, Customs Act as well as Customs Tariff Act. Right? And these 2 acts deal with levy and collection of duty on import or export of goods only. Only goods. Customs law, Customs Act, Custom Tariff Act, both of them do not deal with the services or technology at all. Only goods. Foreign Trade Development Regulation Act, this is providing for goods and services both. Under the foreign trade policy, we have goods and services both. But as far as Customs Act is concerned, this is only about goods. Right? And then regulating import export to a certain extent. This Customs Act cannot regulate entirely. So that's why it is regulating import-export to a certain extent. What it does, that we'll see later on when we come to the customs law. Okay, so this is about the custom. Now, which is the highest authority under the customs law? Highest authority under the customs law. Here the highest authority is Yogesh ji, this is CBIC. Keep on writing your answers in the chat. Okay, I'm continuously watching that. Okay, highest authority is CBIC, Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs. Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs. And this comes under Ministry of Finance. Okay, so this is customs. Next thing, which regulates import export to a certain extent, that is FEMA, Foreign Exchange Management Act. Foreign Exchange Management Act. This is year 1999. In this act, highest authority is RBI. And what FEMA does, this deals with responsibility of every resident in relation to Forex. What is the responsibility of every resident in connection with the foreign exchange? So Act certainly defines who is the person resident, what is the meaning of foreign exchange, what is the meaning of foreign currency, what is inflow, what is outflow, everything is defined there. It is imposing a responsibility on every person who is resident in India. In nutshell, under FEMA Section 8, that says every person who is resident in India to whom any income accrues in foreign exchange or foreign currency, then that amount of foreign exchange should be brought to India at the earliest possible. ध्यान से सुनिए क्या कहता है Section 8. Every person where the provisions are applicable, every resident. Every person who is resident in India. And if any income accrues to him in foreign exchange, means the income is coming from outside India, that income should be brought to India at the earliest possible. Responsibility. Right. Number two, how to bring that? Somebody coming from outside India, he happens to be your relative. Can you get the cash? Law says no. FEMA says all remittances, all forex remittances, whether inwards remittance or outward remittance, has to be through the banking channel only. Then that is a proper inflow. Okay. So, Vipul, your answer is that you are saying if a person is doing job outside India, he is not considered as a person resident in India for the purpose of FEMA. Okay. So for the purpose of FEMA, definition of person resident is different. For income tax, the definition is different. Okay. So if a person who's already a resident or citizen of India, if he goes out for the purpose of employment, the day he goes out, on the very same day, he ceases to be a person resident in India as far as FEMA is concerned. He becomes person resident outside India. तो विपुल आपको आंसर मिला. Okay, so that's how. So first is responsibility. Number two, all remittances involving forex shall be through authorized dealer. Money coming in or going out. If it is a foreign exchange, means either coming from outside India or going outside India, that becomes a foreign exchange. Currency may not be Indian, currency may not be foreign, but if it is coming to India or going from India, then that becomes a foreign exchange. So any inflow, whether inward inflow or outward inflow, must be through the proper banking channel only. The banking channel is called as authorized dealer. Authorized dealer means bank. Okay. Now, third thing under FEMA, this is regulating payments for exports. Now, the next question is, if somebody is working outside India and if he wants to remit money to his relatives in India or his family in India, not a problem at all. All inflows, all outflows are allowed, provided it is through the proper banking channel and the transaction is not a prohibited transaction. So remittance for maintenance of the family, either in India or sending money from India to your relatives abroad, not a prohibited transaction. So when we do FEMA in detail later, you'll get to know what is allowed, what is not allowed. Right? Everything we will do that. Everything we will do. Today's topic is foreign trade policy. We are starting. And foreign trade policy is likely to continue for minimum 10 more classes. Minimum 10. Maybe more. This is the most important topic for the interview in the month of June for 23 exam. For 24 exam, I personally believe not less than 10% questions should be out of foreign trade policy. This is something new. Lots of minor and finer changes are there. Okay, lots of highlights are circulating in the market, but that is not having everything what is there in the policy. Lots of minor and finer changes have been made therein. Okay, so don't trust on what is circulating in the market, and anything which is circulating for free is bound to be useless. Okay. So what are the laws which are governing the foreign trade? Now you have in this one chart itself. Okay, customs law, in any case, this is the main area where from questions are there in the exam. FEMA, some questions are likely to be there. FTDRA and policy. So when you combine these this customs plus FTDRA plus foreign trade policy, this is 100% syllabus of your exam CPLR. 100% syllabus, right? Only challenge is that when I say Customs Act 1962, prima facie it is having 161 sections, but this is not important. What is important is rules, regulations, notifications, which are not the part of the act but are very, very relevant for understanding law. These things will take more time than the act itself. Completing the act itself takes us around 40 to 50 lectures, then rules, regulation, notification, another 40 lectures in customs itself. Very wide and in depth. Okay. One thing I always keep on repeating again and again, whether that makes a sense to some people or not. Self-study for a professional exam is a self-destructive decision. Self-study for professional exam. It is a self-destructive decision. Because once the result is negative, 1 year is gone. Out of 6 possible attempts, 1 attempt is gone. Right, 6 attempts are allowed. So roughly 17% is lost if 1 year is gone. If 1 year is gone, out of your professional life of 30 years, 1 year is gone. That is 3% of the life is lost. Life is not so cheap. So take very important decisions. Okay. Dedicated study of 2 hours a day. How much is required? Put it on the chat box immediately. How much required daily study? Two hours daily. 1.5 hours in the class, half an hour at least for self-study. But that is consistency is needed. 2 hours a day, every day till the day of your exam, and your first attempt is the last attempt. If you don't follow discipline, no guarantee. If you follow the discipline, all the possibilities are first attempt is the last attempt. Okay, chaliye aage badhte hain. Now, as far as foreign trade policy is concerned, this is a policy of the year 2023. Policy is of 2023. Recently announced. Okay, that's why it is a hot issue. I said it is relevant for Viva, it is relevant for the next exam. And this is framed under section framed by now complete the fill of the blanks. Framed by central government under section 5 of FTP. Okay. This is having 11 chapters. And for us, every chapter is relevant. Do you have this document with you? We have already shared this document. Foreign Trade Policy 2023. And if you have not received, please get in touch with Shruti ma'am. She will send it to you. It is already uploaded actually in the app. But somehow if you cannot lay hands, speak to Shruti ma'am. Okay. So in total, there are 11 chapters. This is the list of the chapters. Legal framework and trade facilitation, general provisions. Now mark important things. Chapter number 2, chapter number 3, 4, 5, 6. These are important chapters. These are important chapters. Right? Chapter number 9, that is something altogether new. It was never there before, so it also becomes important. Chapter number 9, promoting cross-border trade. Chapter number 11 is having definitions. So more than 60 definitions are there. Okay. Where it is gone? So more than 60 definitions are there. If the time permits, we will do all the definitions. Right now, I'm starting with chapter number 1, legal framework and trade facilitation. Everyone is having the printed copy. Everyone. किसके पास है और किसके पास नहीं है? है या नहीं? Printed. Even if it is you don't have it today, no problems. It will help you if you have it. From tomorrow you can have it. Today we can continue without this copy also. Okay, Terry, do you have it? Terry Marshall. Write in the chat, I will read it. Some of you say don't have, no problems. This is already uploaded in the app. And those who don't have it, where from you will find, drop a message to Shruti ma'am. She will share the copy with you. Okay. No, this is not same. This is Foreign Trade Policy 2023. This is altogether new policy. While reading, you will find lots of similarities, but there are many new things also in this policy. Not same. Okay. So, starting with the chapter number 1. There are 32 points in this. So, this is a point number 1.05, 1.07, 17, 19, 26, 27. 32 points are there. 32 citizen charter. This is the last one. Sorry. Okay. Then there is chapter number 2. So in a total, 32 points are there, and we must understand every topic. Some are relevant, some are not relevant, but you must understand everything. Point number 1. This is already known to you. Just read by yourself. I'm not reading it. What it says. Any clarification required in point number 1? Apsana, Banisha, Terry. Any question on point number 1? Actually, there is nothing to ask. Right? This we have already done. This is important point, point number 1. Earlier, all the foreign trade policies framed by the government were given a validity period of 5 years. Those were given a validity period of 5 years. In this policy, no validity period is fixed. It will continue to be foreign trade policy 2023, even in the year 2035 also. Like we have Act, which is the oldest Act you have read? Oldest Act. कौन सा आपने पढ़ा है? Tell me quickly. Oldest Act. Indian Contract Act. Negotiable Instrument Act. Indian Penal Code. Neha ji. Negotiable Instrument 1881. Contract Act 1872. Right. Penal Code 1860. Right. The same way, this is going to be there until it is completely replaced by the new policy. So this will be having a, right, now underline the date. From which date? Effective from 1st April 23. Note down the date, underline the date. New foreign trade policy effective from 1st April 2023. Right. And how long it will be operational? And shall continue to be in the operation unless otherwise specified or amended. Means no fixed validity period. Even after 20 years, 30 years, you may refer foreign trade policy 2023, but that will be amended on a year-to-year basis. So instead of bringing the new policy every time, relevant amendments will be incorporated. Then, further, all exports, imports made up to 31st March 23 shall accordingly be governed by the relevant foreign trade policy unless otherwise specified. What is the meaning of this line? This policy is effective from 1st April. This line simply says it has no retrospective effect. The meaning of this line is any export import already done up to 31st March, this policy has nothing to do with that. That import or export already completed up to 31st March will be governed by the foreign trade policy 2015-2020. This policy is not having any retrospective effect. So write 2 points in the notebook. Number 1, the new foreign trade policy is effective from 1st April 2023. And number 2, unless otherwise specified, point number 2, unless otherwise specified, there is no retrospective effect. There is no retrospective effect. Is this clear? Okay, so point number 2 is over. Sorry, point number 1. Number 2, what it says? The central government, in exercise of the powers conferred under section 3 and 5 of the foreign FTDRA, as amended from time to time, reserves the right to make any amendment in the FTP by means of notification in the public interest. Now, in this point, what are 2 things worth noting? What are the 2 points worth noting? Number 1, the power to amend is vested in the central government only. Number 2, amendments by way of notification. And number 3, every amendment should be in the public interest only. So in this, you have 3 points. Number 1, power to amend the policy is vested exclusively with the central government. CBIC will not do anything. CBIC has no role in the foreign trade policy. CBIC is responsible for implementation of the provisions of the Customs Act. Foreign trade policy, CBIC's role is 0. So only central government is having exclusive right to amend. Amendment shall be by way of notification, the official gazette. And number 3, every amendment has to be in the public interest. Noted? So those who are attending the lecture for the first time, for them I'm repeating. Please keep noting. More you write, more you remember. And intentionally I'm speaking everything twice, thrice, 4 times. More you listen, more you remember. Okay? So do not omit writing. Writing is a must. 1 time writing is better than 10 times reading. Okay. And as soon as class ends, what is your responsibility? Write on the chat so that everybody can read. As soon as class ends, what is your responsibility? What you have to do? Here we have answers. Revision. Revise at least twice. Okay, so everybody can see, or it is only me who is seeing this? When you write, keep it public. Instead of direct message, so direct message means only I can read, not everybody else. Right? And in that, if you change that, who can read, it means it will go to public. So everybody can see that. Anyway, so if those who have not seen, let me tell them, immediately after the lecture ends, do not leave the seat. Read everything you have noted in your notebook at least 3 times. By the time class ends, you must be having 2 or 3 pages, handwritten pages, not more than that. Read at least 3 times. Tomorrow morning, again read it. So when you meet me tomorrow evening in the class, you remember everything, whatever we have discussed. Correct technique is very important for more learning. Everybody puts in the best of their efforts. Yes. Riyaz is asking, can I write on the printed notes? Why not? Wherever you are writing, it's okay. Take one side, print out, left side is always free. Whatever you are reading, whatever you can simplify that, write it on the left side. You see, I always write only one side. I'll just show you my notebook. I don't use both. I don't write on both the sides. The left side is always free for more working. That is my way of doing it. You decide yourself, but the technique is more important. So I have shared one technique today. Immediately after the class is completed, read it minimum 3 times. Tomorrow morning, read it again. If you have any question, write down the question also then and there and send me the message. I will reply. Okay. Immediately you can send me a message. The reply may be coming to you tomorrow morning or maybe tonight itself. That is okay. But reply will come. Okay. So taking you back to the policy again. So point number 2 is clear. Who's having authority to amend? The exclusive right to amend the policy is vested with the central government, and any amendment can be brought in only by issue of a notification in the official gazette, and every amendment has to be in the public interest only. Then, here we have a handbook of procedure. Policy is framed by central government and the procedure is specified by DGFT, Director General of Foreign Trade. Okay, so now write it in clear, in complete sentence again. The policy is framed by central government and procedures are prescribed by DGFT. So that there is no reason for confusion, that you are not writing by mistake. Policy is framed by central government and procedures are defined or determined or decided by DGFT. In the handbook of procedure, add this further, by DGFT in the handbook of procedures. Okay, all the forms related to import export, those are called as ANF. Form numbers are referred there in ANF. ANF stands for Ayat Niryat forms. So later on, I'll show you the number of forms in this policy in the handbook of procedures. Right, those are all ANF. ANF number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What is ANF? ANF is this one, Ayat Niryat forms. Okay. So in this, what do you understand? Policy is framed by central government. Procedures are drawn by DGFT, and where the procedures are prescribed in the handbook of procedures, and all the relevant forms are referred as Ayat Niryat forms. Those are a part of handbook of procedures. Read this again, what highlighted portion, and check if you have any question or any doubt. Any question on this point? It is good to invest time initially. So later on, there is no reason for confusion. So I'm going very slow. Instead of 10 days, it may take me 12 days to complete foreign trade policy. That is okay. We are not in a hurry. We are not in a race to complete. Understand everything word by word. You'll never get the opportunity to understand foreign trade policy so much in detail. Okay. Point number 4. This says, where a specific provision is spelled out in the foreign trade policy or handbook of procedure, the same shall prevail over the general provisions. What does it mean? Point number 4, chapter 1, point number 4. What does it say? Specific provisions always prevail over general provisions. Specific provisions always prevail over general provisions. क्या लिखा आपने? Write in the chat. Let me see what क्या लिखा आपने. Okay, Vipul has answered. Afsana has answered. Okay, very good. So you have written it general, or rather very good. Let me tell you something more. No, it is not that the notification prevails. No, please. Notifications are subordinate to the act. And by chance, if there is a mistake in the notification, act prevails. So what is written in point number 4? That is not related to foreign trade policy. That is a standard law. I will relate it to the foreign trade policy. 1.04. General provisions and specific provisions. Apply where there are no specific provisions. Shubham, you sent me a file. क्या भेजा शुभम उसमें? अच्छा कर रहे हो, करते जाओ, दिख रहा है मुझे. Continue that. Specific provisions. If there is any specific provision given, that will always prevail over general provisions. So here what I mentioned, apply where there are no specific provisions. So if there are any specific provisions, those will always prevail over general provisions. So here we will write specific provisions always prevail over जनरल प्रोविजंस. ठीक है, अब इसका एग्जांपल देखिएगा, मैं आपको दिखाता हूं. आई एम टेकिंग यू टू चैप्टर नंबर 2. Point number 31. This is point number. Now read the title. What is the title? Second-hand goods. Very specific title given, right? It means general provisions will not be applicable for import of second-hand goods. So general provisions are meant for new goods. This is giving you multiple meanings. General provisions of the foreign trade policy are meant for new goods. For old goods, for second-hand goods, one specific point is there, that is point 2.31. Right? Now read this, what is written. In relation to import, there are lots of provisions which are general. But when it comes to import of second-hand goods, which one will be applicable? 2.31. Right. Let's see something more. Now this is a specific point for only import of metallic waste and scrap. It is not for the import of metals. It is import of metallic waste and scrap. Again, a specific provision. These are just example. What is the meaning of a specific provisions? What is the general provisions? So almost all the provisions of the foreign trade policy are general provisions, but few are specific. Examples are here: 2.31, 2.32. right? Similarly, we have chapter number 5, which is talk about the EPCG scheme. That is only capital goods are there. Not all the goods are covered there. Okay. So whenever we talk about the provisions, we have to understand one fact that specific provision will always prevail over general provisions. Okay. Then point number 5, they talk about the transitional arrangements. As of now, this is relevant. Otherwise, we omit this point, transition provision. But today it is relevant because as of now it is applicable. And those who are preparing for interview, please keep this in mind. This is a very important point. This is any license, authorization, certificate, scrap, instrument bestowing financial benefits issued before the commencement of the FTP 23 shall continue to be valid for the purpose and duration for which it was issued unless otherwise stipulated. Though the new foreign trade policy is applicable from 1st April 23, but any authorization, any license, any permission given or any financial instrument issued under the old foreign trade policy that continue to be valid even after the new policy has been introduced. And the same terms and conditions continue to be applicable. These new policies will not be applicable on those. Right. So generally, authorizations are valid for a period of 12 months. EPCG scheme is valid for 18 months. So some EPCG license has been issued in the month of January 23. That is going to be valid till the 30th June 24. So whether that will be governed by the foreign trade policy 23 or the foreign trade policy earlier one, it will be governed by the old policy, not the new policy. Sorry. Then this is about the classification system. Item-wise import-export policy is delineated in the ITC Schedule 1 and Schedule number 2 respectively. So can you or do you have access to Schedule 1 and Schedule 2? This is available on the government website. For every item, there is a policy. For every item, import policy, export policy. Right? Anyway, they say the importability, exportability of a particular item is governed by the policy as on the date of import and export. Underline this one. The importability or exportability is as on the date of import or export. The date of import export is defined under para 2.17 of the Handbook of Procedure. So Handbook of Procedure we'll see later on. Bill of lading and shipping bill are the key documents for deciding the date of import and export respectively. So date कौन सी लेके चलना है? Bill of lading for import and shipping bill for export. Those will determine which policy will be applicable. Right. So for the purpose of validity, for the purpose of applicability of the scheme, which dates are relevant? For import, bill of lading, and for export, it is the date of shipping bill. In case of change of policy for free to restricted, prohibited, state trading, otherwise regulated, the import export already made before the date of the strike will not be affected. So it is already transaction already done. No retrospective effect of the policy that we have already seen. So this is not relevant for you. This highlighted area is not relevant. However, the import to the high sea sale will not be covered under this facility. So this is applicable. Sorry. So something which is still yet to come to India, then that will not be governed by this. जो चीज बाद में लैंड करेगी, that will be governed by the importability or exportability as on the date of this one. So this point you need to read in detail, and if then any explanation required, I will answer that in detail, but that will be in the next lecture.